All right. Hey, good morning. It's Noel. Hey, let me check this. Yep, we're good. Um, yeah. All right. Been a little um, uh, sporadic, I guess. I don't know. Last week or two. Last week it was Thanksgiving, and uh, yeah. So had well, we all had four days off here together, all six of us, and then uh, I mentioned before, put in a new wood stove. So did a lot of work on getting that done over the weekend after Thanksgiving, and uh, then we got 10 or 12 inches of snow. So um, that's where we're sitting now. Um, for for what we do here, especially with the dogs and stuff, it's much easier um, if we're gonna have snow on the ground for it to just be below freezing. As long as everything's frozen, the ground and stuff, then not not too bad at all. Um, like even in the play yard and all this stuff now, by this point it's pretty like packed down, so they're not even tracking snow in, you know, to here whenever they get done playing. The bigger thing is when it starts warming up and melting, um, and that ground gets thawed. Then even though we've got 15 tons of pea gravel back here on the dog yard, play yard, and it's still, you know, can get dirty. Um, so anyway, yeah, not too bad as long as it's frozen. So never really thought I'd look at life that way, but yeah, I'm more of a warm weather person. So uh, anyway, I'm going through Luke 22 today, and yeah, so sounds like Stella may want to go outside. We'll see. Okay, so Luke 22. Now the feast of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12, and Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. One second. a little cigar fixing. There we go. Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover." "Where do you want us to prepare it?" They asked. He replied, As you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, the teacher asks, where is the guest room for, where's the guest room? Hang on. Where I may eat the Passover with my disciples. He will show you a large upper room, all furnished. Make preparations there. They left and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table, and he said to them, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God. After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. He took the bread and gave thanks, sorry, and broke it and gave it to them, saying, this is my body for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him. They began to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. Also, a dispute arose among them as to which of them was considered to be greatest. Then Jesus said to them, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. You are those uh, you are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table uh, in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. He replied, Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death. Jesus answered, I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times uh, that you know me. You'll deny 3 times that you know me. Then Jesus asked them, when I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered. He said to them, now, if you have a purse, take it, also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, and he was and he was numbered with the transgressors. And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment. The disciples said, "See, Lord, here are two swords." That is enough, he replied. Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing to take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling onto the ground. He rose from prayer and went back to the disciples. He found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation." While he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, "Lord, shall we strike with our swords?" And one of them, sorry, and one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, "No more of this." And he touched the man's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and the elders who had come for him, "Am I leading a rebellion that you have come with swords and clubs? Every day I was with you in the temple courts, and you did not lay a hand on me. But this is your hour when darkness reigns." Then, seizing him, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. But when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them. A servant girl saw him seated there in the fire light. She looked closely at him and said, "This man was with them." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him," he said. A little later, someone else saw him and said, "You are also one of them." "Man, I am not," Peter replied. About an hour later, another asserted, "Certainly this fellow is with them, for he is a Galilean." Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word of the Lord the word the Lord had spoken to him. "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me three times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophesy, who who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. If you are the Christ, they said, tell us. Jesus answered, if I tell you, you will not believe me. If I ask you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the Father, or of the mighty God. They all asked, are you the Son of God? He replied, you are right in saying I am. Then they said, why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips. Yeah. You know, people are just, like have the capacity to be so evil, you know? It's just unreal. And it's like they're the most evil. Sometimes, a lot of times, we'll just say sometimes they're the most evil toward people that um, likely care the most for them, even though those people don't understand it. Okay, just like Jesus here, who's been speaking to the Pharisees and teachers of the law and all this stuff for years at this point, or for a long time. Like you know, like yeah, sure. Sometimes it's telling them they're wrong about this or that. They can't hear that, you know. But he at least you know has tried to tell them the truth. You know, now he's telling them the truth to the point of knowing they're going to kill him. You know, and they still refuse to hear that he's saying this stuff to them, like so that they also would believe in him. you know, it was the same way with the Charlie Kirk and all that mess. Like, if you notice, there's not many people at all. I would say probably a handful. That go into places like universities and stuff, and they're not to argue and debate and this and that, but because of like you know I care about you enough to tell you the truth. I care about you enough to not let you be brainwashed by you know some public system, a professor, or this whatever, like and that's what they do. They and this goes back to the very beginning. I understand. It's just sad, and it's just so evil. And You know, and when you get down to Jesus, it's like you're executing literally the most innocent, you know, person ever. I mean, yeah, yeah, it's just sad. And you know, it's just crazy. We've all had, you know, I saw a show or video thing or something recently about uh, was like interviewing somebody on death row that was supposed to be like executed, and then the reporter person, whatever, talked to to the guy on death row, but then also like went around to the small town where the crime had happened and all this, and was talking like you know people in the community, you know, restaurants and different places on the street. Sorry about you know the crime and about whether like does that you know like you think that crime should get the death penalty, you know, and and I know it's like super easy to say like yes I'm for it or no I'm not, you know. There's all this and that, um you know, but like you sit back and think about it. I was a death investigator for a while, a little bit, and you sit back and think about like regardless if you're for or against it, you know, do you want to be the person that actually, you know, starts the lethal injection or, you know, does the thing, like whatever it is? Do you want to be the person that flips the switch? You know, whatever. Like, you're going to make that call over, you know, this other person's life. I understand laws and I understand, like, you know, our land and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I certainly understand, like, there's, you know, victims and victims' families and I get it and all that stuff. I guess, you know, to me, it's like, I, that's just not one job that I would want to have. You know, like, um, you know, I mean, you think about like these like Roman executioners that the Jews are going to hand Jesus over to, and you know, the Romans have to kill him because the Jews can't. And you know, like that's those Roman guys' jobs. You know, like they're not there to make a judgment. They're not there to decide if somebody's guilty or innocent or not guilty or whatever. Like that's just their job. You know, and at some point, you know, and you know, it'll be Luke 23. Um, you know, some Roman guys whose job it was just you know to execute people executed Jesus, and whether they you know truly knew that who they were executing or not, I have no idea. I mean, you would like to think that if they knew, they wouldn't have you know done it, but then if they wouldn't have done it, they probably would have executed themselves. I mean, it's like a freaking crazy system. Anyway, it's just like as angry and all that as you can be at somebody to want, you know, them to be put to death. I, at this point in life, especially, truly do not want to be the person that would, you know, make that final, like, you know, uh, flip the switch kind of thing, or, you know, like, yeah. It's just like, how do you go forward living like that, not, and not wonder, like, even with a small, tiny ounce of, like, wonder about, you know, was that the right thing to do? Was he actually innocent? Did somebody make a mistake? Like, uh, no, you know, and then it's not even about, like, sure, you can wonder about it all you want as far as an earthly perspective, but then think about it from like a heavenly perspective. Like, oh, here's Noel, the guy that, you know, did the execution of this guy who was innocent. Like, no, I don't want that crap on me at all. You know, like, and I mean, I'm glad there's people that, at least to a certain extent, glad that there's people that, you know, are are judges among us, even though I think most of this is a joke. Um, but I'm glad, you know, I don't want to be a judge of this and that. Like I don't want to. Yeah, I think there's some, you know, when you're talking about judging and all that, another human, you know, like there's our laws, you know, all that stuff. There's ethics and morals, but then there's, you know, the whole Bible. And there's just so much that, like, it would just weigh, you know, weigh on you. And I know it does some good judges. I get it. I've seen, you know, seen that kind of thing. Um, anyway, I don't know how I got off on all of that, but it's just, yeah, it's just the amount of evil, I think, is, I just don't, it's so frustrating that we put up with it, I think, you know, and I get it, you know, the disciples had limited capacity, I think, to really stand up and do anything. And obviously, Jesus' crucifixion and rising from the dead was, you know, the kickstart of a whole new covenant and a whole new, uh, thing away from Judaism and stuff. But I don't know. I think we need to take evil more seriously as far as not entertaining it. And honestly, I think a lot of this is going to start. It would have to start with our youngest generations. You know, like reteaching humanity again. Anyway, yeah, that's Luke 22, and all kinds of air stuff going on in here. Uh, got to work today. Get started on that. Got some dogs taken care of already this morning, and then puppy pictures hopefully today for our Christmas puppies. There's only two of them. They're super good, cute. And then tonight I am going to see Chevy Chase over in town. Uh, That'll be pretty cool. I saw he was coming, and like 20 minutes down the road. So like I've got to see this before he is no longer with us, or I'm no longer with us. Like, so anyway, that'll be super cool. I hope, and yeah, it will be. And yeah, and that's about it. So you guys have a good day, and I will plan to see you tomorrow. All right, bye.